Joining me now from Southern California, prosecutorial attorney and legal analyst Wendy Patrick. Wendy, when we talk about the Mueller report and Barr being asked about it, specifically the Democrats were asking him if he would release the entire thing. And Barr's response was interesting. To a degree, he would release it. He said he would be as transparent as possible. Roll tape.
I also believe it is very important that the public and Congress be informed of the results of the special counsel's work. My goal will be to provide as much transparency as I can consistent with the law. I can assure you that where judgments are to be made, I will make those judgments based solely on the law, and I will not let personal, political, or other improper interests influence my decision.
All right, so he would follow the law. That's number one. And number two, it's important, I think, to point out right now that the Mueller report is not intended for Congress. You have a lot of people going on television and saying, hey, this report is going to be issued to Congress. No, it's not. It's going to be issued to him. It's going to be issued to the Department of Justice. And what they do with it, well, the answer is kind of subjective.
That's right, Graham, and a lot of people have to remember that. You would think it's going to be issued to Congress for all of really the furor that they make over it, but it's going to be up to Barr. And you'll notice how he couched his answer very carefully. And this is why we lawyers are always criticized. Oh, you sound like a lawyer under the law, and I'll do what I have to do based on the parameters. But he's got to say that because there may be some things in the report that are not fit for public consumption. There may be classified issues. But I got to tell you, you just heard that the speaker say the earth will swallow up the president if he fires Mueller. The earth will swallow up Barr if he doesn't make this report public. We've waited so long for this. He has to err not only on the side of transparency, but on the side of disclosure in order to satisfy not just a court of law, but definitely the court of public opinion on this.
But you hit an important point here. And we can use, say, for example, divorce cases as an example of where I'm going. And that is there are accusations made in criminal cases and in regular civil cases that are not true. They're simply, especially in divorce cases, right?
Yeah.
So this is why a lot of times divorce cases and other cases are under seal. So if you release a report where a lot of it is conjecture and hearsay, it's simply not fair to the person who is targeted of that report. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Graham. And we also worry about leaks. That is one thing that we have not seen in Mueller's investigation, or Bob, as Barr refers to him as. But that's one thing we haven't seen, is we are always surprised by these Friday afternoon indictments, is we don't see them coming. So if there are areas of the report that justifiably are not fit to be released, we sure hope that they do not then leak out, fueling further speculation as to, well, gosh, what else is in there? So I really hope the public has some respect for the fact that Barr meant what he said, and the law backs him up on this. He can't just say we're going to let the whole thing out without first making sure there aren't, as you mentioned, unfounded allegations or other things that deserve to be under seal.
At the same time, I think the American people deserve to know what Robert Mueller has worked on for a year and a half and millions and millions of dollars. So one way or another, I think the American people deserve some sort of official explanation of what in the heck he has decided in his, quote, investigation. Now, Barr was also asked about subpoenaing the president. Will he try and block a subpoena? His answers were interesting, and I think they were rather constitutional. But I think it's also important to point out that in the chain of command, Robert Mueller works under the President of the United States, works under the Attorney General, but the Attorney General then reports to the President of the United States. So there is an executive branch chain of command here.
That's right. And Barr used to supervise Mueller, just making it even more interesting. You need like a graph to figure out the dynamics here. But that's right. And we've been talking about this on and off for, I want to say, almost 2 years as to whether he can be subpoenaed. He could, but we're going to be tied up in the courts forever if something like that happens.
Well, let me ask you something there on that point. Is not the subpoena a part of a process for an indictment? I mean, it is part of the chain. Not necessarily if you're subpoenaed doesn't mean you were going to be indicted, but it is part of the legal chain of command of indictment, is it not?
Part. He could be subpoenaed as a witness. And, if you can't indict the president, why do you subpoena him to begin with? And then, of course, that gets us into the weeds because, well, do we wait till he's out of office in 2020 or 2024? And, it becomes very complicated. The goal would be to wrap it up without going down that road, which would really be a sideshow. It would be a distraction. It would be the kind of thing a judge would probably want to keep out of evidence in a criminal trial, because it would take the focus off of the main purview of what Mueller is supposed to be doing, which is looking into collusion and the campaign.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.